Hi, my name is Acapella.
My name is Tessa.
My name is Victoria.
This is Valentine until 4.
This is Chris Charamba. It's difficult to talk about Zororo in the past tense because he was an ever-present individual. We bonded over, our work in the media, our interest in politics, and our love for Zimbabwe. I remember we used to sit at the old maestro with a couple of other friends and talk politics and talk about what we can do to be a part of the movers and shakers of Zimbabwe, how we can influence and bring about change, the change that we wanted to see, the bright future for our country. And I'll say that he was one to get the closest. He was so determined. He put his mind to it. He'd call and be like, I've got this idea. What do you think? How do you think we should go about it? Do you know somebody that we can talk to? And next thing, he was in meetings with those people. He was doing the things that he set out to do. And I think, such an admirable trait to have as somebody who'd set their mind to something and work to achieve it. And, he lived 30 years, but what he's accomplished in those 30 years is far beyond what other people have accomplished in double or triple that. And it's inspiring. The life he lived was inspiring, and how he connected with people, how he just was ever involved and ever present and thinking about, how can I help? What can I do? Do you need a leg up? He was always supportive, and I think that's such an incredible thing that he was able to do. It's sad. It's sad for us. He's such a big loss to Zimbabwe, a big loss to our generation. But I'd like to say thank you to the Makamba family for raising such an incredible individual who was so inspiring to many. Go well, Zororo.
I knew Zororo from when I was about 9. Him and my brother played on the same soccer team during the holidays, and they also went to the same school. Around the time that we actually started to form a friendship, I remember he used to come to soccer practice in his pajamas, and I just thought, for whatever reason that is going on, I just love that spirit. So we started talking then, and we had this theatrical friendship. He would call me and be watching a show and start to kind of do a voiceover over the show. And when I think about it now, I realize how that side of him has always been present, and how he just had this knack of creating a theme even on the phone. You would know the type of mood that he was in, and probably the way the conversation would go, just by the way he would pick up and sort of go into this whole spiel. We had, I think, a very progressive friendship. The type of things that we used to talk about used to make me really proud, in a time where we have all these, conscious thoughts. And I think in that way that kind of ties into the fact that he was so young, but he has left us with this huge legacy, which is quite remarkable when you think about it, for someone who was only 30 years old. But I think for me, the way that I will remember my friend is, it's a relief and something so refreshing to have those people in your life that you can call and be completely authentic with and completely trusting. And what I remember about Zororo when we lost Chia was that he was still so strong about it and kind of gracious. And I mean, I've kind of tried to incorporate that still very early. But yeah, I will miss my friend.
Zororo was someone who just was an incredible friend. He was such a connector. He just loved bringing people into his life, into the fold, learning about them, learning what their passions are, their dreams, and then really supporting those. He was incredibly supportive of my decision to go back to school for my master's, something that he was doing too. He has just been very supportive of a lot of the things that I wanted to follow in my life. And that wasn't just as we left high school, that was while we were in high school. And more than anything, I actually just remember his passion for life. I mean, I've never met somebody who had so much passion for life and just for really living it to the fullest and really just taking chances. One memory that keeps coming back to me is that in high school he had this just dream of, having a reality TV show follow him and his friends around and just film all of the fun and just drama and love and everything that happened within that group. And I really think it would have been successful if it had happened. But this was around 2008, and those were tough years in Zim, so it never really came to fruition. But I really think that could have been a lot of fun and really fun to watch years later. But yeah, just his passion and just his ideas. He always knew he was going places, and he clearly did. He was doing amazing things, and I was just so proud of his TV show and the work that he was doing through that for the country. I know that he really cared about the people of Zimbabwe, and that was just amazing to see. And really, I just feel like anytime I had a big decision to make or just, something going on, I could reach out to him and I knew he'd be there and he would give me sound advice. And he was also never afraid to tell me when I wasn't doing a good job or when I had, half-heartedly done something. In fact, he would just say, poor effort, Mo. And I appreciated that because I knew it was with love, but I knew it was also in a way to make me better. And, there were... When you leave high school and you leave all your family and your friends and you go across the world, it can be really hard, obviously. And just having him there and knowing he was always just a phone call away was so helpful, and he really helped me through a lot of that period, and I'm so grateful for that. And I will miss him every day. It's hard to believe that he's gone. I mean, I just would never have expected that at the start of this whole craziness. And yeah, I miss him every day. I can't believe it's nearly been 2 weeks. But I really hope that I can continue to live my life with the passion that he led his. And I hope that everyone can get a really good snapshot of the amazing person that Zororo Makamba was.
I met Zororo in 2009 at Michigan State University. We met at a party, and as soon as Zororo walked in the door, he was charismatic as ever, and we immediately hit it off. Zororo being from Zimbabwe, me being from Zambia, we began to talk, and that was the beginning of a very, very long friendship and brotherhood. Z was an extremely special person. And, Zororo shared a lot of himself with the world. Everyone is very familiar with the charismatic, intelligent Zororo from seeing his career blossom, seeing him on TV. The set of people that, people are not as familiar with that I was fortunate enough to get to know was Zororo, how great of a friend he was. Always there to support, his friends. I could call Z because I had a presentation in class. I needed him to listen to me, and he would sit there and listen and give me pointers. I've seen him, always there, for his friends in a lot of other respects. He was, loved his family, always spoke about them, and aside from speaking about them, he always made an effort to keep in touch with everyone. And it's only become apparent to me very recently just how many people Zororo was in touch with. Z was constantly checking in on people. And it's very, very, very inspiring to see that someone in the schedule like his, found the time to, think about each one of his friends, and each one of the people that he's met along the way. Z, I love you. You'll forever be in my heart. I will, remember your legacy forever. Always keep your words of encouragement in my heart. I remember, our debates and discussions about politics in Zambia and its adjacencies to politics in Zimbabwe and economics in Zimbabwe. I've missed those conversations. I will, always remember the advice that you gave me. I love you, man. I'll see you in heaven. Rest easy, Zororo.
Where do I even start? Let's start from the beginning. I met Z my freshman year of college. We were about 18, 19 at the time. I think from the very beginning we both knew we were going to be very good friends. We ended up becoming best friends. Z became my brother by bond. He was my guy. Anyone that knew me knew Z was my guy. It was very hard to see us separated. We were always together. Just a few things about Z. Z was gold standard. Z was a really, really special guy. He truly was. He was a born leader. I mean, from head boy in high school to pledge captain to leader of Toastmasters to leadership in College of Communication, all of that. Everybody loved Z. Everybody wanted to be around him. Z was incredibly mature, way more mature than all of us in our group. But if I was to characterize Z in one word, I would say Z was focused. Z graduated college 3.5 years, did everything he said he was going to do and wanted to do. So I take comfort in that he lived a full life. He did what he wanted to do, what he said he was going to do, and he achieved all of it. I also take comfort in the fact that Z lived life to the fullest. I mean, we had countless good times, and I was blessed to be there for most of them. And I was especially blessed to be there for the last one. This one is very tough for me. This is very, very hard for me. I'm really still trying to fight, just coming to terms with all of this. Freshman year, our absolute favorite song was this song by Jay-Z, Forever Young. And Z would sing it at the top of his lungs all the time, And it's just, one of the ironies of life. But, I'll miss him. I'll miss him like crazy. I'll miss him. But I know that he's watching over us now. And I just want to say, Z, I love you. I'll miss you. And long live Zororo.
So, it's Z's birthday weekend kind of thing. And he's in New York. I haven't seen Z in 3 years. And I told him I couldn't come. He has no idea I'm here. This man thinks he's slick. Because I am slick. We're about to see Z. I need to catch this guy's reaction. Look who it is! Yo! Wake up!
I'm having the hardest time accepting what's apparently the truth, so I'm just not going to accept it. And I'm quite lucky that you're the most prolific voice note sender known to man. And for the last 8 days, I've just replayed 6 years of discussions. Bro, I went through dates, right? And we spoke every other day. If not every day, if not the whole day. Right? The group chat, you, me, and Jeff, how many years? Right? I don't get why it's you and not someone like me, because you used everything around you for the better of other people. You were the only guy that had my back when nobody else did. Right? And man, we had a special relationship, bro. I'm pretty sure I won't be blessed enough to have, a guy friend as good as you were to me. They don't make them like you anymore, man. You weren't even my day one, but you were in my life longer than my day one. I'm fortunate to have known you. I'm depressed, bro. We were speaking Thursday, we spoke Friday, we spoke Saturday. Next thing Monday, that's that? Really? I miss you, man. I really do. And you were the brother I chose. I don't know why you always said that you learned a lot from me because I learned so many more important things about life from you. And the way you carried yourself, the way you treated people, bro. I can only hope to emulate that. I really can. I'm on a field, which is where we first met, in sporting competitions. And though I was somewhat terrible, I gave you one hell of a sidestep, man. Which was a running joke for, 20 years now. Like I said, I miss you, man, and I'm truly grateful to have known you.
Zororo was a son, a brother, a fiance, an uncle, a friend, and an inspiration to many. My deepest condolences go out to Mr. and Mrs. Makamba, the rest of the Makamba family, and Anya, his fiance, who unfortunately have not had the pleasure of meeting. I hope we do one day. And of course, all of Zororo's friends around the world. My journey began with Zororo back in grade 2, so 24 years ago when we met at St. John's Prep School. Zororo had this gift of making everyone that he knew or came in touch with just feel loved. And if you were ever feeling down or doubting yourself, Zororo was always there to talk to, and he would always just give you that foot up that you needed and just ensure you that if you gave 100% and kept pushing on, that you would get there eventually. With what Zororo has been through over the last few years, he's a fighter. He doesn't give up until he gets what he wants. He's had many knockbacks, but he's kept on going, and he's a very special person. And Zororo just had this ability to lead people, and people followed him through all walks of life, whether it be back in junior school or senior school on the sports field, or in his later years of life. He had that ability to get people to follow him, and it was always in a good direction. So I'm not going to keep you here long, but I just want to put my gratitude out to Zororo's family and just everyone out there, and my thoughts and prayers are with all of you during this time. And Zororo, you sure did leave behind a legacy, and I promise that all of us are going to do our best to carry that on for you, and we're going to do our best. God bless all of you until we meet again, brother.
You are my friend. You gave me career advice, life advice. You were just simply the person who cared. And just reflecting on the conversation I recently had with my mom, where she broke down in tears. She was like, Zororo, my son. To hear her say my son just shows how you even touch people in my household. They enjoyed every time you came over for a drink, for dinner. And we have many stories to tell. And those stay within my heart, and I miss you, bro.
I will remember him as a leader, outspoken, very well-spoken speaker, straight to the point, and a future leader on a grander, much larger platform. He's an individual that never minced his words, very genuine, and kept his real close circle of friends really tight, looked out for everyone that was in that circle. Zororo's a family man. I learned a lot about his family through him, and when I learned about his passing, it hit me really hard the moment I learned about it.
We had a weekly routine where Zororo, myself, and a few other friends would meet up and would dedicate our conversations to dreaming and plotting about how we would one day be big players on the field, making a difference in Zimbabwe, whether in business, politics, or the social sectors. And now, fast forward 5 years, it's only really Zororo who stood true and was bold enough to follow through on these dreams we talk about. Whether you agree or not with the route he may have taken, one cannot dispute that he made himself a fixture and a part of the Zimbabwean narrative. So this has really gotten me thinking, and it should be a wake-up call to other young people to hold yourself accountable. When you set dreams, when you set goals, you have to be bold enough to try and to fail sometimes, and this is something I admire the most about Zororo. Secondly, we went to rival schools, and we were rivals all throughout school, particularly in sports. And such was his notoriety at my school that we created a war cry for him. And I would have to dedicate this as I close off. I'm not a good singer, but here goes nothing. Mama, 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 Makamba, Abba, Polish, 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 Makamba, Abba, Polish, Azora, Kumeso. Rest in peace to a fellow dark-skinned brother.
When I first met him, I was struck by his generosity and his kindness to everybody around him. One of my favorite memories of Zororo is the first time that we hung out. We went to a music festival with some of his friends from work. The first thing I learned about Zororo that night was that he's a gifted and charismatic storyteller. Watching him come up with a story always made me laugh because I could see on his face how fun it was for him to just spontaneously create characters and a plot line. It's actually from one of those stories that night that he gave me the nickname Chelsea, and I don't think he's called me by my real name since 2017. At the end of the day, Zororo was a fantastic friend. He was one of the most thoughtful and kind-hearted people that I've ever met. His passing is a shock and a devastating loss for everybody that knew him. Zororo is greatly loved, and he will be very sorely missed.
Zororo was very loving. Zororo was always very caring, and he always wanted to know what was going on with his friends, and not just to know for the sake of knowing, but knowing so that he could see if he can offer his help or he can help you make better decisions in your life. And in that too, he was someone who always used to seek advice in his plans. And trust me, Zororo had a lot of plans. It was hard to keep up with him sometimes, but he would never just go in to do something without consulting other people. Granted, you could give him advice, but he didn't necessarily have to accept it. But he was strong-willed enough to know or trust his convictions to make sure that he was making the right decisions. One of the other things is that Zororo was selfless. One of the most selfless acts that he did for me, I was visiting New York for work, and I was staying there for a couple of months. And one morning I woke up to multiple messages going off on my phone. Those messages were Zororo creating WhatsApp groups for every single person that he knew in New York, and every first message was the same. Hey, my boy is in New York. He's going to be here for a couple of months. Take care of him. You see me, you see him. And to this day, some of his friends that were actually in New York are actually some of my very good friends now. And that was the kind of selfless love that Zororo had. This is a life that was taken way too soon, and there is no replacing a Zororo. But what makes me happy is that he left us so many memories. He left us a very good legacy to live up to and to actually share with the rest of the world. So again, to the Makamba family, keep strong, keep fighting. Nya, we're here for you. And to the rest of the world, let's not make his death be a death in vain. This was a death with a purpose for us to live a better life.
In terms of his work ethic, in terms of his drive, in terms of his passion, he outgrew me in a way that no words can describe. And to have lost such an asset in everyone's life, the nation, his family, his friends like myself, it's something that's very sobering in a way that only makes you want to work harder, push harder, run further, because that's the way that Zororo would have done it, and that's the only way to keep his legacy going.
Zororo was an incredible person. He is the kind of person who always looked for the best in those around him. The way he was able to achieve everything that he achieved in the time that he had, he really could do it all. There was no aspect of his life where he wasn't being the best version of himself. Not only in the work that he did, but even in the relationships that he maintained, the friendships that he maintained. It's a testament to that is just the outpour of love that we've seen from literally all corners of the globe since we lost him. And it's really a special thing. There are not many people in life that have that ability to be the best that they can be in everything that they do. And if there's one thing that we can do as the ones who is left behind, is to follow in that example. Zororo, we are gonna miss you, and you may have been laid to rest, but you will never die. Rest in power, brother.
What really struck me about his character was he was humble, he was passionate, and he had this unique drive to achieve, whatever he set himself out to do. And he also had this energy about him. Whatever room, he was in, he'd always be that person to light up a room. And as we went to university in different parts of the world, we'd always, keep in touch, find out, how things are going, and he was always that dependent friend when you needed advice. And he always served as a motivation for me and for my career and what I wanted to do. And what I learned from him was to live this life with purpose.
Went to St. John's with Kills. That's where we met, that's where I met Zororo. And my specific and personal experiences with him all started when we did the Green album. That was when shit really took off for not only just, the landscape of high school competition, but also our friendship, and that's when Kills, he wasn't even supposed to rap. He was never supposed to rap, was never supposed to touch the mic. The guy was gifted in everything in his life. You're talking about sports, you're talking about academics, you name it, he was gifted all rounded. All he did was win, literally. And all it took was one day of me in studio with one take, and Zororo was at the crib, probably talking about some girl that he was trying to chase at the time, or some girl that broke his heart, or just us trying to understand, little high school stuff. And then it's like, yo, Kills, this is the song that's hot right now. Listen, get on the mic and just talk your shh. You know what I'm saying? Just let people know that, own all these accomplishments you've made, own all these winnings and own all this talent that you have. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. That was the battery that I put in his back. He was already a winner, already a star, already a legend in the making. And I just kind of put that battery in his back to say, Kills, man, the world needs to hear you, needs to hear it on a song. It's never been done. Let's switch up the landscape. And since I was sort of the music guy, obviously for Lil Keith and whatnot, it only made sense that we just did something for high school. And that Green album experience, when we recorded Ballin', that whole intro back and forth with me and him, Ayo, Kills, what up, Keys? They say we the two most arrogant people at John's, right? That's classic. Didn't rehearse it, didn't do nothing, and we knew from that day it was going to explode, and it did. And that's something that I was able to contribute to his life, man. And then that kind of progressed, and just watching him be a leader, that man is a born leader, man. Just in all aspects of life, he was a born leader, and that's something I appreciated the most. Something about him, stand-up dude, it didn't sway left, didn't sway right. He kept everything straight. And that's the kind of guy he was, man. Testament to how he was raised. Shout out to Mrs. Makamba, Irene. Shout out to Mr. Makamba, Uncle James, Tawanda, Kush, R.I.P. Chedza, everybody, man. It was just, that's just a testament to how he was raised, and he was just a stand-up guy, man. So, everybody in my family loves him. Everybody in my family loved him, and he was just special. He was just that piece that, they cut him off too early. They cut him off too early because he was going to do great things. I used to always call him the president. The future president of our country, man. And it's too bad, too sad, but Kills, we love you forever. You forever live in our hearts. You were my biggest fan. That's without a doubt. You call me randomly with voice notes of freestyles. He'll play records back and forth. Yo, Cap, why you not putting out music? Why you not putting it out? Why you not putting it out? I always had some excuse, and he didn't like that, but he was still so supportive of everything, you know, and that's what I love about him, man. And he's definitely going to live with me forever. Kills, I love you. To the Makamba family, you're in our hearts, you're in our prayers, and just brother to brother, man. Keep it real. I love you. I know you're going to be okay. I know you're in a better place. The way you went out wasn't the way you were supposed to go out, but it's on us to take it up from here, all right? Love you, bro.
Zororo was significantly younger than me. I'm the eldest in the family. Zororo was the youngest. So by default, obviously growing up, we'd help around the house and we'd help with the younger siblings. So you grow up being the big sister, but you also kind of grow up being like a mommy almost. So Zororo was the sweetest child. Everybody loved him. He, you know, wherever we would go, if you'd go on holiday, if you go places, people always stop you because they just want to stare at this cute, chocolatey munchkin. He was a little performer. He was charismatic even when he was young. And he started believing in himself from a very young age. So I have a distinct memory of, we were at a restaurant in Harare, and Zororo was probably about in grade, I don't know, he was probably somewhere between the age of 5 and 7. And the guy who owned the restaurant kind of came up to him. I think he was running around while the rest of us were sitting down, and he came over to sort of, you know, banter with him and asked him, what are you going to do when you grow up? And he said, I'm going to play in the NBA basketball. And this guy was like, do you even know what that is? And are you sure you can do that? And he came and sat on my lap and he said, my sister said I can do anything that I want to do, so I'm going to play in the NBA. And I literally, like, for the rest of his life, up until right now, you know, the last days, we had that kind of relationship where he would call me or, you know, come talk to me to get that fire, to get that endorsement, to get that, you know, Kush, this is my idea, this is what I'm going to do. And if I kind of was like, it would kind of deflate him. So he valued my opinion so much. So I was always very careful to be super honest with him. And I'm so proud of everything that he did. He hadn't even scratched the surface. Like, he had so many ideas that it's actually ironic. On Saturday, Zororo died on a Monday. On Saturday, I had dinner with my dad, and I literally pretty much said to my dad, I sometimes feel like I have to be the brakes in Zororo's life. He runs at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and sometimes I can't grab him to slow down fast enough, you know. And I was saying to my dad, almost saying, can you help me to be the brakes? Zororo will tell you an idea today, and you know, most of us will process it. I'm very analytical, so I will overanalyze everything. Zororo will tell me an idea at 2 o'clock in the afternoon today. Tomorrow he's got a pitch deck, or tomorrow he's calling me saying, I'm driving to the office of the person that I told you that I had an idea for. And you're like, how the hell do you do that? But that's how he lived his life. And he lived his life urgently. He lived his life passionately. He was, you know, so respectful. Any adults that encountered Zororo, Zororo was a delight to be around. Angane Tsika. I remember when Zororo got his first big paycheck last year. He, you know, all along he had been working, but still kind of churning his ideas and not really being able to monetize them. And I happened to be in Zimbabwe on that day, and he said to me, I got paid, I'm going home to the farm. I want to go and show Baba and Mama my salary. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And he said, how much should I give them? And I was like, why are you giving them money? And he said, because that's where my blessings come from. So, yeah, that's the kind of person he was. He went to the farm. He gave everybody a piece of his first salary. You know, I think I got $100. But I think when he gave my dad, he showed my dad, Babanda Tambira Mari, And then he asked him to bless him. He said, can you bless me? And he got that from the Bible. Zororo was so curious about the things of God and how to do things the right way. He loved the Lord. Up until his last day, we were praying with him. And I know he's in a better place because of that. I have so much to say about him. Everybody has been talking about Zororo, the career person. And so I'm not going to touch on that because there's way more than enough out there. But just in the last week alone, I've just, from people who keep writing about him and sending us these tributes, I'm just like, how did you have enough time, Zororo, to make so many people across the world feel so special, like they're the most important person in the world to you, and still make me feel like I'm the most important person in the world, and Mama feel like she's the most important person in the world, and still do all the work that you did? Like, I just don't understand it. And, going back to talking about how he sought opinions about everything, right? So his fiance, when he was buying his ring, last year we went to go ring shopping, me and him, and I just got tired. But he was just everything had to be so particular. And by the time he proposed, he had first showed everyone. He had gone, Mama the ring, Rakiza Baba the ring, show Tawanda the ring, asked for blessings from everyone, and then he went ahead and did what he had to do. But that's who Zororo was, he was on TV, he was all over the place. When his shows would come out on TV, he would be sitting around with us. He'd say, guys, I'm going to be on TV today. Should we go watch it at the farm? Or, and that's his audience. The audience was sometimes just him and Mama because the rest of us are away. Sometimes all of us, but, tuning in at the same time. But he was just a family person. Half the time I'd say to him, why aren't you out? Why aren't you going out? But he'd be at home just churning out ideas, wanting to watch his favorite shows, talk to his friends all over the world. That's what he did. He didn't, he partied once in a while. Of course he should party. He's young, but, he was just so way, 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 way ahead of his time. He had such huge ambitions. It's amazing. Most of his friends from America, their tributes are all about Zororo loved Zimbabwe. Zororo had such big plans for the nation of Zimbabwe. Zororo was so proud to be a Zimbabwean citizen. And, you don't talk about that with your family, but that's the impression that he gave people. And so his shows, whether it was Point of View with Zororo or State of the Nation, it came from a very, very personal and passionate space about wanting people to really understand what was going on in our country. But he was always looking for the positive spin. He was just so hungry to tell stories about our nation that were not being told by everybody else. So Zororo talking about emotions or how we're all feeling is futile. It's an understatement, but I just thank God for just 30 years of just front row seats to brilliance. I am so in awe of everything that you accomplished. I'm so grateful to God that he chose our family to be your family. And, I don't know. What else do you say?